So the Capstone project at Krea is designed for students who are interested in having exposure to like a flavor of doing original research, which is something that's quite uncommon in, as far as I know, at the undergraduate level in universities, probably around the world, because I don't think you have many opportunities as an undergrad to do real research. So a capstone at Krea would mean that you spend 6 or 7 months. So your idea, your entire thesis and stuff has to be a doable project in that timeline. But the idea is that you generate original knowledge that is genuinely yours. And I can't emphasize how unique that is as an opportunity for a student to have. Well, you have two ways. One is, well, presumably you are in a major and you want to do a project in your major. You don't have to. You can actually do a capstone that is, well, interdisciplinary, but the focus is within your major. For example, my capstone, while it is for a biology major, integrates things from computer science, mathematics, sociology in some sense, but not really, a wide variety of topics. But the focus has to be on the subject that you're majoring or minoring in. So there are two ways that you can come up with a capstone project. One is, if you really feel strongly about a certain research idea, write up a proposal and find faculty that are working in fields that are adjacent to your project proposal, right? And more often than not, faculty are more than happy to supervise you with something that they have domain knowledge about, right? And even if they don't, they can either connect you to somebody who does. And the great part is it doesn't have to be just within the university. We have had capstone projects done with, the initial approach was to a faculty member at Krea, but it has spanned a collaboration with professors from other universities, because they may have the expertise that the student needs in order to do original research work. Well, all departments, if not most departments, sort of have a sort of document that goes out to all students before this capstone signing up business happens, where you have a list of a faculty member and the different projects that they offer that you could just sign up for example. If that's interesting to you, sign up, and that faculty member is your supervisor. It's not set in stone, of course. Despite that topic being written in that document, you can modify it if you see fit, but the point is you don't have a blank slate necessarily. That's if you don't have an idea of your own, basically. So either which way, so there's a lot of flexibility. And the really amazing thing is that no matter which route you take, you have an excellent support system, both in terms of faculty and staff who are there to help you with whatever you need, be it doing experiments in a lab. You need to get reagents, you have funding for that. You have a fixed amount of budget that you can draw upon for experiments or anything that you might need, as far as I know, for the sciences. And if you need expert advice or consulting in some sense from other people, the faculty will set you up with that as well from the immense academic network that they have access to. My capstone thesis for my bachelor's degree in biology was in biological sciences rather, was a project that was conceptualized by Professor Sham Kumar Sudhakar. In fact, we started working on this a couple of years ago, but it sort of materialized into a thing that we were like, okay, yeah, we can actually sort of do this in 6 or 7 months and actually have something to show for it. At that time, it was an idea and we were sort of testing out how we can do this stuff. But once it became something more solid, we were like, yeah, we can totally do this as a capstone thesis. So the project is actually quite simple in the sense of how you go about it, but the implications are enormous. So I'm getting ahead of myself. So what is the project? The project is about looking at huge amounts of data from a database of hospital patient records, specifically for patients who have suffered head trauma, right? So we call this clinically as traumatic brain injury, TBI. And the fundamental question that we wanted to ask or answer is this. Let's say I were to fall a flight of steps, right? Pray that doesn't happen to anyone. Please don't look at your phone when going down or up a flight of stairs. Don't ask me how I know. Is if you were to fall and you hit your head, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the line, depending on your age, your sex, your demographic, right? Are you more likely to develop certain kinds of diseases? So we are not talking about a disease, right? Like, are you more likely to develop just diabetes or just, let's say, pneumonia or like some, it's not one specific disease, it is a whole range, a network of diseases. Are you more likely to develop like certain pairs or networks of diseases essentially, because diseases never occur in isolation, and we know this from COVID, for example, right? It's not just COVID affecting a person, it is COVID affecting a person who might have diabetes and or a heart condition and or multitude of other connections. So we cannot ignore, we cannot look at, this is sort of like interdisciplinarity applied to diseases. Like, we are not looking at one disease, we're looking at how all of them talk together. And the way that you can represent, and I guess it's encoded in the way that I've been talking about it, is using networks. You might be familiar with how social networks might be represented, right? As people are like circles and they're connected because this person follows this person, this person follows this person, and like you have a very complex thing going on. Literally the same thing is what we applied to studying diseases. So, a stroke condition might be connected to a heart condition, which makes sense, right? Because they are both related to blood vessels and blood and stuff. That might have a long distance connection to something like depression or anxiety. And the thing is, the takeaway really is, of course, this is all in the process of being written up and published in a journal. And that's the power that a capstone grants you, right? Because when you do original research, you can publish said original research in places that will accept it. And the power about, so the key finding that we have or can demonstrate is that in the example that I was talking about, stroke and a heart condition, you have these long distance connections to something like mental illnesses like anxiety, or sorry, I wouldn't want to call it mental illnesses, I would say like diseases of the mind or something like that, like conditions like that, where you have these long distance connections to something like depression or anxiety or bipolar disorder, and the connection's not obvious. You wouldn't think that if you hit your head and you developed a heart condition that you might be more prone to depression or anxiety. And this is relevant information because if I presented to the hospital with having hit my head with a heart condition, for example, they can look for signs of depression or anxiety in me because we have this data telling us that, hey, you might be prone to develop it, right? So we are talking about preventative healthcare here. Of course, there is a lot of groundwork to go until we reach something predictive like that, but the point is that this is the groundwork. In fact, it's not in the groundwork, it is breaking new ground. And that's what our capstone was, a very small sliver of this entire thing. And yeah, just because you have done a capstone doesn't mean at the end of your 6-7 month stint, you're done. Faculty are more than happy to continue working with you, collaborating with you after your capstone to see where it can end up, because that's both the fun and excitement in research, or it can also be scary. You don't know where you're going, but you don't know where you're going. You could discover anything, and the capstone could be the way you might find that out for yourself.